Welcome to Business Affair. I'm Ashlea Harvey. Mauritius is positioning itself as an investment location for tech companies. In the recent budget, government hinted that it may consider evaluating intellectual property as an investment to the financials for tech companies wanting to set up on the island. Joining me is Duncan Luke, who is the founder of the Social Collective and co-founder of the Mauritian operation, which is currently being set up. Duncan, thank you so much for joining us.
Hi Ashley, thank you.
What is the Social Collective and why are you looking at setting up in Mauritius?
The Social Collective is a technology company, and really what we're doing is focusing on the monitoring and evaluation of non-profits, spend on non-profits, looking at community engagement and volunteering that is happening, and we're one of the technologies that are helping track that, because there's a big human capital investment that goes into that, but traditionally it's not tracked. We are setting up in Mauritius because there's a market opportunity to expand into Africa, and we're looking at how we can offer the same technology across Africa at scale. When you're looking at the problems that we've managed to solve in South Africa, the similar problems or the same problem exists in Mauritius and other African countries. So we're looking at what's the best way to plan an expansion.
And what are some of the challenges that you've faced with this expansion?
I think there's always a few. I mean, the market's a little bit different, so you need to find the right local players. We're more and more learning about government compliance and the different regulations regarding IP and how we're managing that, and the investment criteria in different countries in order to do business correctly. We were able to set up in a few countries before, but with partners that didn't implement properly. So when you're really doing it properly, you need to bring the investment and comply with all the regulations. So it's been quite interesting to navigate all these regulations, and often the information isn't as clear as it should be.
So Duncan, what value do you see your business bringing to the BOI, and how have they helped you in this process?
I think the BOI always needs innovation, and they need companies, and they need young people doing business, and they need to understand how this is going to deliver value to local people too. So I think the grade is more flexible than traditional roads and things like that. So we're excited about the fact that we can bring in innovation. So the BOI is really helping in structuring this activity, giving us the support to be like, yes, come do business here. I think that's often a big thing that's required, because it's so easy to have misleading information and not knowing where to go or what information is actually required to get these complicated structures in place.
Why Mauritius for your setup?
I think Mauritius has always been an interest for us. I think they are offering a lot of value around the IP regulation and softening regulations for us to expand into Africa from Mauritius. Because going to each country is a case of setting up in each country, setting up the business, looking at the IP regulation for their country, where they're kind of indicating that there's a way that they're going to help us expand into Africa regarding the IP registration. And
what will the Social Collective's value be for Mauritius?
The value is we're looking at CSR in the country, and we try to see there's not a lot of regulatory frameworks around us, not a lot of transparency around where the funds are going, who's reporting on them, what community engagement activities are being rolled out by various non-profits and implementing partners. So we're trying to get a global or localized island view of what's going on, as we have been able to do in South Africa. So I think there's a framework is required, and we're making the framework available through our technology. It's making it easier for people to kind of report in a structured way, to make it easier for everyone to kind of be talking on the same page when we talk about what's happening with the money, what's happening with the community engagement, and also volunteering. How are people getting involved in non-profits?
So who are your clients?
Our clients are government, corporate companies, even individual volunteers, and mainly non-profits that are running community engagement programs. They rely on funders often, and funders would kind of give these organizations reporting frameworks that they require. So we're making it easier for these organizations by helping structure the information. So everyone from the person who wants to volunteer to government that needs to see this data in kind of rolled up views.
And what is your competitive advantage? Surely there are other companies doing similar things. What is it that the Social Collective does differently?
I think we're making it easy for the end user. Some technologies can be very expensive, so we're making it cheaper and more affordable to more people. I think that's the main thing. And firstly, we're just providing a framework that just isn't there. So we've been able to figure out how do we connect a volunteer with an organization, and how can this person give feedback that's transparent, as well as offering organizations like corporate companies and governments platforms with which they can manage all the organizations that they're investing in, and have global views on that, kind of global views as far as like rolling up the data and comparing and doing data analysis on this. So there's a few different aspects there. I think the main one is like the financial model is like how do you make it more affordable as a technology, and then also how do we get interesting views on this data that might be there, but no one's thinking about it the way that we are thinking about it.
Now, to go back to that intellectual property investment that the Mauritian government is looking at evaluating, tell me about that. I mean, as a startup, as a young tech company, you've invested a lot of money into your intellectual property to get off the ground. So tell me about what that feels like, firstly, and secondly, what avenues this opportunity now opens up for you.
I think it's really great because right now the regulation is saying you have to put in X amount of money, but we've been able to build the money in another country without that capital investment up front. So we know the value of the technology. So now it's a case of saying, what price do we put on that, and what is the framework for that? I think it's like, that is our asset. Our asset isn't traditional form of money. It's our asset is the fact that we can bring the technology, we can help partners locally generate revenue streams, so it's a bit of a different way to look at it. And I think only IP specialists and technology specialists will fully understand the extent of this. But we're saying this piece of technology has had X amount of hours involved in building it, and that is our greatest asset. So it's you can look at it as infrastructure in a way, but it's easier to implement infrastructure, and IP law has always been a little bit behind with this. So we're excited about the opportunity to say this is the value of the technology rather than like where's your cash up front.
Sure. And do you think that this change in regulation is going to encourage other tech companies to come to Mauritius, and do you think that will change the landscape of business on the island?
Definitely. I think there's always been an interest for business to be run out of Mauritius as like the management capabilities that sit here. And if it is made easier for technology companies to have the IP here, I think it will have a big influence. I know a lot of my friends in the space that are running their own companies, they've always looked at this as an option. So if you're making it easier for the IP, it's going to definitely increase the amount of businesses that are run out of here and the amount of IP that is registered. And the same thing has happened in the States, in Delaware and San Francisco. Like, they made the regulation more lax and businesses flooded there.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I'm Ashlea Harvey, and this is Business Affair. Join us next time.